Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to the voice of the times, brought to you this Tuesday, February 22, 2022, by Wilcon Depot, the country's leading home improvement and construction supplies retailer. Shop conveniently 24/7 with Wilcon Online Store. Just go to shop.wilcon.com.ph. For today's editorial, subsidies are slowly killing biodiversity. A recent study by a group of subsidies experts reinforces concerns that financing projects that are meant to sustain biodiversity are doing more harm than good. According to the study, at least $1.8 trillion is spent every year on subsidies that subvert their intended goals. Tax breaks for beef production in the Amazon and financial aid for unproductive irrigation in the Middle East are among the most glaring examples the study cited. A United Nations or UN report last year also found that almost 90% of subsidies to farmers every year damage people's health, fuel the climate crisis, destroy nature, and drive inequality by excluding small farmers. The fossil fuel industry, however, is the biggest culprit, with counterproductive subsidies totaling $620 billion. The agricultural sector is not too far behind, with $520 billion. With water accounting for $320 billion and forestry $155 billion. The report did not include mining, long considered to be a major contributor to ecosystem destruction. Governments that parcel out subsidies without proper screening and follow-up strategy share the blame, the study noted. The businesses that benefit from subsidies are guilty as well. In an online article in The Guardian, Eva Zabi, Executive Director for Business for Nature, lamented that many businesses are benefiting from these environmentally harmful subsidies. Typically, the subsidies were established with good intentions in mind. We need to level the playing field because, right now, some are benefiting from a head start when it should be the other way around. It's a wicked problem, Zabi added. The fossil fuel industry immediately springs to mind whenever we dissect the problem of harmful subsidies. Many governments are generous in subsidizing the sector through tax breaks and production credits. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development found that subsidies in the fossil fuel sector rose by 30% in 2019. That's not an encouraging outlook, according to the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. Subsidies may protect consumers by keeping prices low, but they also come at a high cost. The IMF warned. Subsidies are expensive for governments, and therefore taxpayers, to finance and can hinder governments' efforts to reduce budget deficits. They can also compete with other priority public spending on roads, schools, and healthcare. The environmental cost is equally worrisome. Despite the financial boost, the industry has failed dismally to reduce carbon emissions. The report's authors are calling on governments to agree to stop all harmful subsidies by the end of the decade. There is a chance to make that push during the Biodiversity Summit in China later this year, where companies will be asked to reveal the subsidies they receive as part of environmental disclosure reporting. Cristina Figueres, who headed the UN Climate Convention in 2016 that produced the Paris Agreement on capping temperature rise, agreed it's time for drastic measures. Harmful subsidies must be redirected towards protecting the climate and nature rather than financing our own extinction, Figueres said. Subsidies have to be redirected, repurposed or done away with, to free up more funds to prevent further biodiversity loss. The IMF said the fiscal, environmental, and welfare gains from removing harmful subsidies are substantial, but it also acknowledges that getting rid of the subsidies will be a Herculean effort. As early as 2009, the Group of 20 sounded the call to phase out ineffective fossil fuel subsidies. The response was lukewarm, and the IMF explained why. When reforms are made, prices increase, and this has often led to widespread public protests. It added, the absence of public support for subsidy reform is in part due to a lack of confidence in the ability of governments to shift the resulting budgetary savings to programs that would compensate the poor and middle class for the higher energy prices they face. The IMF has offered a plan for subsidy reform that includes a comprehensive energy sector scheme, transparent and extensive communication and consultation with stakeholders, and more efficient state-owned enterprises to reduce producer subsidies. All these initiatives will not prosper without political commitment and strong cooperation, both of which need to be nurtured vigorously. And that's editorial for Tuesday, February 22, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.